Welcome to Married to the Boss.
Back by popular demand.
Oh, I like that one. I like that one. I should get a t-shirt that says that.
Yes, you should.
I should. Anyways, thank you for coming back and joining us today. Today we're going to be discussing the marketing plan, which is completely separate from the business plan. Now, many of you out there might be wondering, why are we talking about a marketing plan when last time that we met together, we talked about the business plan at length? Well, there's a really, really good reason for that. And the reason why we want to actually spend time building out a marketing plan is because it really has a tactical purpose, the marketing plan does. And I'm going to just touch on, if that's okay with you, I'm going to touch on the difference between do it really quick, the business plan versus the marketing plan. The business plan really is your who and your what, meaning the way that you're going to market to your target audience. And the marketing plan is going to be your how, which is the execution of that marketing efforts that you're going to put into letting the whole world know about your business. And the how, meaning exactly when to do it, where to do it, and the actual context based on the marketing medium, or where it is that you're marketing. And that kind of gives us. Oh, before we get into the what you include in the marketing plan, I'm sorry, I just wanted to give you an example. I do have an example that I wrote down, and that's Bradley's Bark Park. Bradley's, it's a dog. And Bradley's Bark Park has a business plan, and in the business plan, Bradley's Bark Park identified the goal, the business goal, to build the revenue for this year, which is the second or third year. In this case, we'll just assume that it's the third year in business, by 20% compared to last year's business revenue. So in the business plan, the marketing strategy was to sell ancillary products to new customers. And now what the marketing plan will do for Bradley's Bark Park is to identify how they're going to actually increase the 20% and how they're going to sell or target those new customers to sell the ancillary products. So what they're in the marketing plan for Bradley's Bark Park, they're planning on selling other vendors' products because the Bark Park does not have any products of their own. So in addition to that, they will join affiliate programs in order to resell those other vendors' products. They'll also create a owner rewards program, and they will market through direct mail and also do some social media and some direct email marketing. So that's an example of the marketing plan. Of course, there's way more to that than what I just summarized, but I don't know if you wanted to touch on what the marketing plan includes, or at least an overview. There's so many things, but we're just going to go through the overview.
We are going to go through it quickly. So be ready to take some notes. First and foremost, because we've done a few business plans and marketing plans, you need to know that the business plan, you're not done. You have to do a marketing plan. There is marketing information in that business plan, but it's really high level stuff, and you need a worksheet with a marketing plan. So the key ingredients to a business plan for marketing that you have to have in your business plan, unique selling proposition for your product or your service. I mean, what is so unique about your product and service that's going to get your business really out there? Secondly, your go to market strategy. How are you going to go to the market? You're going to market with what? Again, high level on the business plan. Sales and channel distribution. You got to have sales, and with the internet today, you've got to have channels all over the place. And you might have mentioned a few with email and social. There's channels everywhere that you've got to get out there. And then the fourth one is advertising and promotions, which that means money. You got to spend money to make money. So those four items are in your business plan. In the marketing plan of the business plan, yes.
Sorry,
that's okay. So those are important categories. Sometimes you confuse me. That's okay. We're used to that. But that's what makes us work. So, but you have to break each one of those 4 areas down. And you've got to take your time in breaking those down. So let's touch on at least 6 categories that need to be worked out, from a standpoint of, don't think you're going to spend 5 or 10 minutes on each one of these. You're going to spend a few hours on each one of these. Number 1, conducting a situation analysis. Self-explanatory, but it's very important that you take that first step. Defining your target audience, also very important. Writing realistic goals. The key word there is realistic. Analyzing your tactics. How are you going to go to war? How are you going to get out there? And this may not be for everybody, but in our case with software, we have to have a proof of concept. So that may not be for every business. And you might be thinking, what would we do? How would we put together a proof of concept with our business? But it's important that in certain businesses that you have that. And then the last is setting your budget. Now, I will tell you that that's not the fun part, because that means you got to spend money. But a budget here in your marketing plan has to fit in with your business plan. So the business plan, remember, you did set up a budget, but now you're going to go back and really, really dive into the cost and the expenses of your marketing plan, and then you're going to incorporate that into your business plan.
Oh, I think that's very, very true. One of the things, or at least more than one, I would probably add apart from the obvious, like you said, the overview, the target audience. I would also add something that's important, and that is 12-month calendar. All of our marketing plans have 12-month calendars. And the importance of the 12-month calendar is that you identify, and I know that sounds like a lot of work, but trust me, it is a lot of work. But it's so worth it, because you put a lot of forethought into what you're planning on using. The 12-month calendar identifies when you're going to be doing some kind of campaign, whether it's social media, email, direct mail. You mentioned.
Can I add to that?
Oh, sure. Yes.
So, like with Bradley's
Bark Park,
which I like that name. That's a really good example, because having a 12-month calendar for an email campaign. I mean, you can do all kinds of social campaigns and so on. Just talk about email campaign to know exactly. You're going to be sending out 1 email a week. You should set that schedule out for the entire year. I think that's a very strong point. I'm glad that you brought that one up.
Oh, thank you. The other thing too, it also makes you think about the messaging. Remember we mentioned earlier that the marketing plan also brings context into the execution of the business plan's marketing component. So it also brings it into context. So what do I mean by that? That means that, as Mike pointed out, if you're going to be doing email for the entire year, your calendar year, you want to make sure that you plan the message that you're going to be sending out to your audience. And also, if you're going to do an offer, what is that offer? And as well as how you're going to allow that customer to convert into either a paying customer. In the example of Bradley's Bark Park, the email campaign may redirect, because they're also an affiliate, it may redirect the customer to a vendor's website, where Bradley's Bark Park makes some kind of a commission if the customer ends up buying something at a discount. And again, there's so much that we could dive into that. Bradley's Bark Park may have a preferred price on certain products, and that would be a reason for the customer to buy from that link. But I didn't want to digress. I just wanted to express the planning that goes into a marketing plan, and why the calendar is an important component of the marketing plan. If you do nothing else, please do a marketing calendar, 12-month calendar, or even 6 months, or even 3 months. Start out with 3 months. Just plan your method of executing your goal of attracting new customers and building your business.
And really, if you don't plan, all you're going to do, you're going to put yourself into a situation where you forgot to put it together. Now you're rushing to put it together. Mistakes are going to be made. The message isn't going to be right. All those things, and there's a lot more than that because we've run into them. It's much better to be organized with those campaigns.
Yeah, the other thing too that I wanted to add to that is that the 12-month, the calendar also helps you organize your messaging. So if you're also planning on doing blog posts, email, direct mail, the affiliate, a PR campaign, which PR is completely different, you want to make sure that the message is consistent throughout all of the different avenues that you're going to be taking for that particular month or week or whatever that campaign is. And it helps you organize your message and it helps you stay consistent, which also circles back to the other goal of the marketing plan, and that's branding. So it also helps you plan your media assets in advance so everything actually looks everything matches, right? That the brand is the brand. So whether the brand is being, in this case, Bradley's Bark Park, the fun pet sitting service that Bradley's Bark Park is, they can have that same brand of Bradley's face on the email, on the social media. Oh yeah, so that's what you want to make sure that you keep it the same. So everywhere. Branding, yeah. So
website, everywhere.
Website, yes. So. Okay, so I just wanted to touch on that, and also an action plan too. If you do have time to work on a 12-month calendar, also include an action plan, because when you do the different avenues that you're going to be using, the different methods of communicating with your customer, you want to make sure that you also have a goal for each one of those methods that you're going to be marketing to your customer. So if it's an email, you want to make sure that you have your goal, your strategy, and whatever tactical approach you're going to take with that email. And you want to make sure that you don't skimp on that as well, because planning for that is going to also help you if you have a team, or even if you are outsourcing it. It does help you work more efficiently with either your in-house team or your outsourced media company that you may be outsourcing to, or even if you're just working by yourself with your spouse, like we work together.
I was going to say, even if you don't have a team and it's just your spouse, the last thing you want to do is not be organized, where one's saying to the other, is that email campaign all set up, or are we running the social? And oh no, I forgot, I got to do it right now. That's not going to set well as a couple in business. So that organization is pretty important.
It is very, very important. So
speaking about budget, though.
Speaking of budget.
Remember, because that's what that was the last point on here.
Oh, but I didn't get a chance to touch on reporting also.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
That's all. Reporting. There are going to be some metrics that you want to include or identify in your marketing plan. For example, is where are you now? Where is the benchmark for said method of campaigning with your customers is at? An example that's very common is email. There may be a benchmark for your particular industry or business that might be X number of open rate. It's called an open rate. Maybe you're targeting either a higher open rate than what your industry calls for, the benchmark for your industry, or perhaps you just want to make sure that you articulate that within your marketing plan, because you have to be able to grade yourself, measure how well you're doing, right? How else will you know if what you're doing is actually working? And you want to make sure that beyond paying customers, you want to make sure that what you're doing is the right thing for your business based on your goal. The other thing too is you want to also include the frequency of each one of those and that's the metrics, the frequency of, say, for example, the email. If you're going to be doing an email campaign, you want to decide on the frequency of the email, because that will make a difference. And if you're starting out and you have no idea, because it's the first time that you are doing this in whatever industry you're in, it's okay. Sometimes trial and error is the only way to go, and especially when you are an entrepreneur, everything's trial and error,
Yep.
right? Everything's trial and error, so it's okay. And there's no problem with that. And the other thing also is resources. You also want to identify the resources that you're going to need for that execution, or that whatever that vehicle that you decide to choose to market to your audience. For example, what is it that you need? Do you need some tools, software to do that? If it's an email campaign, I'm going to keep using email as an example to carry us through this conversation. If it's an email campaign, you want to identify the tool that you're going to be using for the email. For example, there's different types of email marketing platforms. You're more familiar with them than I am, but
Constant Contact, MailChimp, just to name a couple.
okay, right. And the other thing also is who's doing it, right? You mentioned that we always have to, being organized is important, but also articulating, okay, who's doing what, right? I mean, so anyway, especially when it's just the two of you, you don't want to drop any balls. You want to make sure that you're able to stay on task, and that's important to articulate. And the last thing is cost, which is circling back to what you were saying. As far as the cost is going to be different based on certain things. I'm going to let you touch on that. I just wanted to also mention before we lose track of the thought, and that is high level, that cost for your entire marketing plan. There's a budget that was set in your business plan, and that is the cost that you're going to be breaking down. Yes, you're going to be taking the budget identified in your business plan for the marketing strategy that you're going to be doing, and you're going to take that number and apply it to your overall marketing plan, and then you're going to allocate those funds accordingly. And that can be done in so many different ways. So I'll let you touch on that.
Okay. So there's a lot of different businesses and industries out there. So not everything that I'm going to mention is going to apply to everyone. Mm-hmm. So, take this information and fit it into, and I'll give a couple examples, fit it into your particular business. The first one everybody's going to have, and that should be just, you should already know what the first one is. I shouldn't have to tell you, but it's the internet. So you already know you got to have a website, you got to do email, social media, video. At some podcast in the future, we're probably going to have an internet tree podcast, just internet, and talking about all the different things that you can do to promote your business. Mm-hmm. Direct mail. You might be in a business that you still need to send out flyers. Door to door, that's really not applicable anymore. But believe it or not, there are still people hanging tags on doorknobs in homes across.
Well, Bradley's Bar Park would be an example.
Absolutely.
Maybe there's a new family that's in town that just moved in with maybe 2 dogs, and they want the business. They might go and hang something, maybe a little doggy bone.
They might, but I was thinking of Planet Smoothie, because Planet Smoothie hung something on our door a few years back. Right. So that still might be out there. Yep. Radio, even though you'd be thinking radio, who advertises on radio? Well, just think about car dealers in particular. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of businesses that still use radio as their advertising. Television, that's an obvious one for those that can afford to run commercials at 2:00 in the morning. That's pretty funny. You got newspapers, and I don't know who reads those anymore, but the fact of the matter is, there's still a lot of advertising on newspapers. Again, car dealers, just to pick on one industry, is a good example. Magazines, third-party directories, and the last one, which probably, again, I can only just use the car dealer as an example, but a billboard. These are all different categories that you have to break down what fits into your business. But I can assure you, going back to the first point, the internet is going to be the biggest, not so much the most expensive, but it's going to be the most timely that you're going to put in your project in regards to breaking down your budget, because you are going to have costs in building a website, hosting the website, and it goes into much more, as you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, totally. So Because we're running out of time here, we're almost at a stopping point here.
Mm-hmm.
We touched on, just want to summarize our segment for today. We touched on the difference between the business plan and the marketing plan and the importance of elaborating your marketing strategy in a separate document, aka marketing plan, because it involves so much planning and so much forethought and so much information to be identified up front. We also talked about what needs to be included in the marketing plan, a very high level. There's different businesses we might require different elements within the marketing plan, but we did touch on that. And the last thing that we talked about was cost and how you identify what the overall budget is for the marketing plan, and then of course the difference between that and the difference between allocating it based on outlets like you mentioned, radio, email, etc., etc. Is there anything else I missed?
Just one thing to mention, and we also did that with the business plan. This marketing plan does not have to be a book. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's going to be much smaller than your business plan. Mm-hmm. What's going to be bigger in your marketing plan is literally your worksheet, your cost analysis. That's where you're going to be sitting down and going over, okay, how much do we want to spend this month, next month? How much do we want to spend this year? That's where you're going to spend your time, is really tied to that budget. But really, you're looking at 4 to 5 pages of a marketing plan that you're going to be putting together. And some may be even smaller than that. Some might be longer than that. But your worksheet is what's going to be important.
Yes.
Would you agree?
I totally agree. Okay.
I think that's it for us today.
It is. Perfect. It is, yes. So we'll have to wait till next time.
See ya.
Bye.
That's this week's episode of Married to the Boss podcast.